Welcome to another episode of SaaSy Moms. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Anya. And today we are diving into something that got us all thinking and I think panicking a little bit is the Netflix show Adolescence. Wendy, are you excited?
I'm actually really excited to just chat through it. I know we've briefly chatted about it on, WhatsApp, but I'm excited to just, chat through with you because watching it just felt like I don't know, it was just holding up a mirror to all the fears that I have with parenting. Obviously, I have like three kids, so it feels like a lot of weight on my shoulder on hey, how do I raise like, good kids and good human beings in this world? So it just got me thinking a lot.
I know. Same for me, even though, I have just a baby who is a couple of months old. After watching, I actually watched this episode at a time when I also realized that, I am 100% responsible for this person right now because this person cannot do anything by themselves.
Mhm.
And I got so scared. It was just a wrong timing for me to watch it for sure. Because when they're a little bit older, you can, like, you're still responsible. Just don't get me wrong. I understand that it will always be 100% of responsibility. But, when your kid is at school and they fall there, for example, or they damage their arm, you kind of like, okay, yeah, obviously you will get them to the hospital, but it wasn't your fault. But right now, everything I do is like what I did to my child, and it's scary. I wonder, Wendy, what do you let's discuss the adolescence. And I know you have a lot of thoughts on
Mhm.
this, so maybe you can share some like what you thought as well as how like what you felt, because
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is
Yeah, and
yeah.
I think you mentioned like something interesting is, you're responsible for your kid, especially a newborn, because, you're feeding them, like you have to wipe their poo and pee, and they're like 100% dependent on you.
Hmm.
It's a scary thing. I think for me is when I was watching the show is it's about the how I act, what I do has a huge reflection on the way that, he might be thinking, or like even like every word that I use, with my kid and things like that. It's like, oh, it could have a huge effect. Like I feel like I always have to be just thinking like what I'm even like, expressing, like my how I interact and all these things. So it just got me thinking a lot. Because I feel like, at work, the way that you act, the way that you say things may not have as much of a downstream effect, to be honest, as a kid, right? It's like I even remember for myself when I was a kid, there's some stuff that my parents would say to me, still sort of like I still remember it. So it's just have a huge effect. And then I think as I was watching the show and I was watching it with my husband, I'm just like every thing that happened, I'm like, oh my God, like this happened and that happened. And I'm like, oh, I like was like so much self-reflection. I'm like, oh, am I doing a good job? Like, am I being the mom that I should be? Am I being the mom that I should be for my kids? So it just got me thinking a lot. And I think in general, the show kind of just scared the crap out of me. Like I said, in the beginning, I was like, I have three kids. There's like such a huge like responsibility and like so much weight on my shoulder when I was watching the show. But I think it just kind of got me thinking, what if that was my kid, right? It was like a good kind of just gut check on like kind of trying to understand why this happened, or like why he did a certain thing. Was it because the parents? Is it a psychological thing? Like it just got me thinking a lot on like how I should act, if that make any sense.
It was so funny. We just had a technical issue because I somehow muted my physical mic and didn't see that.
Yeah, we had
Uh,
like back and forth. We're like, can you hear me? She's like, no.
and I couldn't even see, like I saw that I have like the red thing on my mic, but I guess yeah, so Aside from that, I think, Wendy, I can totally share your feelings, I guess, about this episode. But to me, what happened was that I took some time to prepare for episode here and to discuss like what people think about adolescence, what I think. And obviously my initial reaction was I was scared. I like realized that I'm 100% responsible for my human being. What if the situation happens to me? I will literally die. And I did lots of like research in Reddit. I saw what people think about, and there are a lot of heated arguments there about how like social media influences things and blah blah blah. But honestly, what I realized, and I think my true opinion is that while this episode and while this show is really great, high quality, and it gets us think a lot about, how we raise our kids. At the end of the day, I think that it was quite a big discrepancy between this guy who was from a normal family and like what he did at the end.
Mhm.
So I just honestly like I think my biggest take away from this is that it's a little bit out of context show. And I think that this kind of a scenario would have been possible if he would be part of, I don't know, like a family with addiction issue or a family where, let's say, father abuses mother or mother abuses father. But, like the fact that he came in from just like a normal average family, obviously there were issues in the family. But his father was normal. They were just like again, like normal middle class family. Obviously, the kids will still have their own problems, maybe mental issues, but not to an extent of like killing someone. So to me, I think that like my biggest conclusion is like, hey, all, we shouldn't be scared because very likely you will not have a kid who will want to kill someone, even if their social perception will be affected by the social media or by the school or by the friends. I think what we have to understand as parents that even despite of the fact that when there is like this teenaging like teenage when they become teenagers, and this is the time when they consume a lot of information mainly outside of the house, and they all say that, hey, as a parent you no longer have a huge influence. But I think if you are just a normal family, like more or less healthy family who knows how to manage conflicts, who kind of and like the child sees that, oh, the parents love each other, the parents like are okay, they're normal. I think social media will not have such a huge impact um, to the extent of killing. I think
Hmm.
it still can have an impact, for example, to an extent of like maybe even causing depression, for example, but not to an extent of going and killing someone. So I guess after thinking about this episode, these were my thoughts.
Mhm.
Because correlation is not causation. Yes,
Yeah.
social media correlates with mental health disorders, but like what is the real cause that, let's say, our children spend more screen time? Is it because they don't have like a mom like you who arranges a summer vacation for your kids, which we will talk about in the next episode. But these were like my thoughts, which are a little
Yeah.
bit different from potentially what we can discuss.
Kind of agree with you and kind of don't because I feel like I think I do agree with you maybe like the show kind of like illustrated a very extreme case, and I think it highlighted a point. I think the point, but then we can discuss it. It's like how there's social media influence, and I don't think it's as much as that, but it's like more the self-worth. To me, it was like the kid just didn't feel like he was inadequate, right? Like he doesn't understand the self-worth. He doesn't really understand like why he existed in the first place. And I felt like there was a lot of that. So I think by showing the very extreme case of, Ashley killing somebody and Ashley that, I think it generated, I think it's more for the show as a like a talking point. So I
Mm-hmm.
do agree with you. But I don't know. Like I still have that fear where it's like obviously I think it's a multitude of things where it could be a psychological, thing that, has caused it or some sort of issues. But I do feel like those extreme cases could happen because of parenting and of how you're raised and all that. But so I semi agree. But at one point I am still scared. I'm like, what if? What if? What
No,
if, right?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
like, kids are like, like I think kids are like their own human beings still.
Yeah.
And no
Yes.
matter like what kind of like you can do a lot and they still will be themselves. But I think that if you're an adequate parent, right, and you have a kid who, like will be interested or will be capable in killing someone. Because honestly, like to be capable to kill someone, it's like you have to have like inadequate state of mind.
Hmm.
It has to be a serious mental disorder or just maybe natural love to kill, which I don't know. This feeling is not, it's something that I personally have never felt. So
Yes.
I
Of
can't
like,
really talk about it. But potentially, let's imagine that there is a kid who is capable of killing. I think that you will be able, as a parent, to see this type of things early on before they
I
become a
do agree with that.
teenager.
With that.
And then you will be able to manage it. So if you see a kid who is like 3 years old and he like comes and like hits everyone, obviously as a parent you will manage this. But the showed us completely like crazy reality where, oh, this is a totally normal, adequate kid. The parents think that he's totally normal and adequate, and then suddenly he kills. So but we can obviously talk about the thing, like, not we can, like, you can talk about anything that you want to, but it was too disjointed
I
for
do
me.
agree with you. I do agree with you. And I think it's like probably it's not what how we're experiencing it because I think it's like we even if we there's some I don't know discomfort or like things that we were not pleased with like killing somebody is not a thought that will come to mind. So I think from I that's why I agree with you. Like the thought of killing is probably takes more than just parenting and all that. But
Hmm.
I just feel like the show kind of illustrated it just to just show the like illustrated point. Anyways, after watching the show, oops, I just
Hmm.
playing with my pen. So
Hmm.
after watching the show, I think there was like a few things that I like was kind of reflecting on. Because as a growing up in an Asian family. I was brought up like with really strict rules, right? Like I was not able to go out until I don't know, I was like grade 10 or grade 11, and like I can't come home like later than a certain time.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of those things. And then when I was, wanting to be a parent or be a mom, it's like one of the things is I don't want to be a helicopter mom. Um, but also I don't want to be clueless. I think that was one of the things that kind of got me thinking watching the show because I think one of
Hmm.
the things which was reflected was the dad didn't really know who the son's like close friends were, like what he was experiencing at school. His sister had no idea, his mom had no idea, and he was just in his room, doing his own
Hmm.
thing. So like I think for me, one of the things I just wanted to think through it's like, hey, what's the line between guiding and like controlling, right? It's
Hmm.
just kind of like making me reflect, like, how do I give room for my kid to, stumble upon stuff and trying to figure out things, having those like open channels for him to like come to me or my husband when they feel like they can talk about these things and not be judged, I guess, and like without us like freaking out. So just got me thinking on like how I want to approach this as my kid is now 8 and soon to be a teenager, and which is scary to me. So yeah, it just got me thinking about that. And then the other thing that really got me thinking is, which I kind of mentioned, is the main character, the boy, really wanted to be loved and be liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he needed like validation, from people, which was something I never, to be honest, like really understood, because I'm like, who cares? Like, especially in North America,
Mm-hmm.
um, you're kind of your own kind of person, and you have more freedom to express yourself versus when I was in Asia. I feel like you're more confined. But it's just interesting because in North America, like how my son is being brought up now, is we are overprotected in terms of we overprotect our generation when it comes to like
Right.
praising them. Like in the school system now, we don't even use like traditional grades anymore. We don't do A, B, or
Mm-hmm.
C because we're so worried about hurting the kids' feelings, or suggesting that they could do better. And I think I don't agree with that, to be honest. I feel like kids
Mm-hmm.
needs to be told like, hey, they could get better. You could get better in different areas, like these areas you're better at. I feel like you can always grow as a person. Like I never feel like I'm at the top of everything I do either. So I just feel like kids nowadays are just so like, I don't know, not soft, kind of like we don't want to like we don't want to toughen them. Like, and then I think that's like one thing I sort of disagree with the Canadian education system, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
is like we're over like saturated on that side where we're just like, oh, like you're doing great, even though like
Yeah.
you don't understand math yet, but it's okay.
I
It's
know.
okay.
So actually, this was the thing. Like I remember, because I have like I actually like I have a family who has a kid, and definitely like this kid kind of needs this like praise
Yeah,
and needs this like recognition that, let's say, he is better in soccer than anyone else, that he's better in doing certain like physical activity exercises, or
yeah,
he's better in math. But the system doesn't give him this. And I saw this kind of communication and like a conflict that this kid had in their mind, and the mom, right? Because the kid comes in and says, "Hey, mom, like I did it. Like all answers were like I answered every single answer correctly, but this another kid got actually applaud at the end for doing only half correct things. So I actually am told like for only for half answers being answered correctly,
yeah,
because Canadian system tries to like praise those kids that are a little bit behind, which
yeah,
again is kind of right, but it's also not right because it creates an incorrect perception. It's like, like when you know that something is truthful inside of you, but
yes,
then someone comes in and tells you otherwise. It's not good. Like it creates a dissociation, which can
yeah.
actually negatively influence mental health in the future.
Hmm.
Because a kid knows, like, okay, I did everything right and I didn't get praise, but someone who did only half things right gets praise. Like,
Yeah.
what the
And it's like
heck?
the constant need of like validation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't you know yourself that like I only got half right, so I should try to get better? But
Mm-hmm.
no, I incorrectly got praise, even though I only got half right. So I'm constantly seeking
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
validation from people when I'm not even, that great. So it's
Yeah.
like when you're actually, I don't know, it's just like this really weird concept for me. Because in Hong Kong, like obviously it was like
Yeah.
it's very black and white. Like you
Yeah.
failed or you did not.
Same in Ukraine, right? Like we have
Like,
marks and everything is strict.
yeah, like it's you failed, then do better. And I just feel like kids nowadays just need to be toughened up a little bit. It needs to find like self-worth, and even like you might be failing in math and things like that. You should be like congratulating yourself on like, hey, I improved
Hmm.
by, I don't know, 1% the following day. Like the constant need for trying to like get better, it's not
Hmm.
something that nowadays like kids have, which is one of the things I'm really struggling with as well. Because like obviously all my kids are born in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and this is their belief system. Like even like getting them to do a little bit of extra work at home is like such a chore. Like when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid, it's like, oh, like yeah, like I'm supposed to get better because I'm getting 60% on math, and in order to pass my grade, I need to get to 80%. So let me try to get better. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had that mindset, and I think it's so important as you're growing to an adult. So that's just another thing that kind of like dawned on me because of the show, because the main character just constantly needs validation from others,
Mm-hmm.
and he can't get that from himself by like, praising
Mm-hmm.
or like getting that validation. Hey, I am doing really great at this. I might be struggling with this. I need to get better. Like they don't have that like self-awareness, which is, I don't know. It's scary to me because I'm like, how do you teach that to a kid?
I I know, but but this is the
Yeah,
important because it wasn't actually about just self-worth related to kind of like math, right? It
yeah,
was
yeah,
actually self-worth related to women.
exactly. Yeah,
So this is an interesting point because how do you, as a parent, kind of motivate this type of thinking, right? Around like dating and like kids being exposed to honestly to this like sexual type of things
mm-hmm.
pretty early in life. They like there is like also like a porn, which I know a lot of like kids do watch when they are just like
Yeah,
very little. And then, like for example, I remember like maybe it's a little bit personal information, but for example, I don't know why like this sexual thing is kind of going because like teenaging, right? And
yeah,
like
yeah,
in my school, even like boys would like to comment like on girls who already had a sexual like intercourse versus girls who didn't, right? And they even would like comment like and like or make like some I don't know lists of girls who
wow,
was like cool because they already had sex with the girls who are
wow,
not cool because they are not, and it's like boys kind of commenting on girls and thinking that there is something wrong with a girl to not have sex. And so at this point of time, only like your self-worth as a girl, for example, will
yeah,
play a role if you actually are going to go with this
yes.
social kind of wave or you're not. And it's very hard to talk about this with your parents, right? Like you're
I
not
know,
going
I
to
know.
come to
Yeah,
your mom
like you
and
you
say, "Hey,
can't
mom,
be
like
like, hey,
I'm
I'm on
not
this
yet,
list.
yeah, I'm on this list. I didn't yet have sex. What should I do? Find me someone." Like you can't. You're just like
Yeah,
there.
I
Can't. But again, but in this whole situation, I think that it depends on how secure you feel in general, I
yeah.
guess. And if you feel secure, you might just ignore it. If you feel insecure, you will unfortunately go with the flow. But again, the topic of like the self-worth, specifically in like dating world, is an interesting thing that maybe we need all to think about as parents
Mm-hmm.
and kind of also like address these issues and maybe like talk to our kids since they are like, I don't know, 7 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like it's like I think it just got me thinking about like how do I instill like self-worth that like my kid is not constantly just seeking validation from others.
mm-hmm.
And then just like having self-awareness is like yeah, like you are being praised on
Yeah.
every single thing that you do, but what is like true praise versus like things that you could actively work on? So it's just got me thinking. I don't know what the right answer is to be
Yeah.
honest. So if anybody knows, please message me or like us. I would love
Yes.
to hear it because I'm still trying to figure it out. This was actually a huge topic for like even when I was discussing with my husband, I'm like, I don't really know how to parent, like around
Mm-hmm.
self-worth. I'm like, how did I come about having self-worth? Like, I don't even know. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how to teach that. So that was another thing. And then the other thing, I think you mentioned already is just like the like our identity is so like highly influenced by what people say about us, like social media and like, things like that. And especially for women, I always feel like there's always this thing about like we always have to prove ourselves even more in terms of being just as a woman itself already, right?
Yeah.
So like how do we help kids understand that, they are there is a self-worth. You don't need other people to validate it. You have your own identity. You don't have to be influenced by all these other, social media and like all these things. That's just another thing that has just got me constantly just thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, like honestly, like how
Yeah.
to answer those questions. But again, I will say that I do think that it's very important that in order for kids to, to be well, is to ensure you just have a great, like just healthy, as much as possible, healthy family inside. I don't know. I think if you are just good enough in terms of, taking care of each other, like having dinner together and like, I don't know, showing as an example how to solve some conflicts, like understanding the role of a mother versus the role of a father. I don't know, and just, constantly talking to your kid and just ensuring that your kid shares with you. I guess this is the biggest kind of secret of success.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just for a kid to feel safe to tell you anything. Now, how to do it, I don't know myself. But this is the goal for me, I guess, as a
Yeah.
parent,
Hmm.
because I know I will not be able to control everything. I even Googled today, like how to control, like how my kid, like what my kid is doing on social media, and I think there was no answer to it, because like I think the only thing I can know is if my kid comes to me and says, "Hey, mom, I have this girl and she thinks that I'm like not worth it, or I will never have a girlfriend," and this upsets me, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, like being
So,
comfortable and like open, be able to do that, right?
yeah,
Because I know like even for myself, like growing up, I would never be able to have those conversations with my parents.
yeah,
Um,
me
just
too.
because, yeah. Yeah, I think it's just like how I was brought up. Like it's like a taboo thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was very hard for me to open up. And I think it's like only until I even got past university where I'm like opening up a lot of things to my parents. It's like, oh, I don't care
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Like I'm already past this age where like,
Yeah.
but it's like during teenage years, I was never able to like open up on a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things, right? So I think you're right. Like I think my goal is to how do I help or create the safe space for my kid to come to me if there's anything like good and the bad um and like show him that I'm not judgmental on whatever he
Mm-hmm.
tells me and like more acting as like a guide versus like telling him what he should do and not do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that
Yeah.
was, something for me to kind of think about because cyber bullies are real. Like, interestingly, I didn't share this with you yet, but so we had our show, our user conference for the company that we work with a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Mm-hmm.
always get feedback, right?
Yeah.
And seriously, there was one person that
Mm-hmm.
called out me and my other female colleague
Mm-hmm.
because we're women.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was
Okay.
like, okay, interesting comment because we're
So
women.
he
Yeah, like
said like
it's like,
because
yeah,
you're women,
yeah, it's
we
like you guys didn't do a good job because of these two women.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
That's unexpected.
yeah. It
Even
was
though our community, I know that's like it's
no, no, but so that was like unexpected, right? It was like the comment was like literally like the women on stage were like I've just a
yeah.
nasty comment. Basically, it was
Mm-hmm.
like calling out the two women, and I was like, oh, okay, very interesting. So like it's like obviously he didn't leave his information and things like that. So like just hiding behind, I'm like,
Yeah.
just tell me to my face if you have some, constructive feedback, like what I can improve on. But calling out on just being a woman on stage, like, no, not acceptable.
Yeah, and by the way, I had the same situation with my threads. So I have a threads account where I actually
Yeah.
post mostly about motherhood there, and I don't
Hmm.
post a lot of pictures, but there are crazy accounts right now. Like there was a man, commenting on something that I do in respect to my child and me.
Hmm.
I don't remember the comment, but I decided to go to his page and I saw he does comment a lot to like women who have kids. But this comment's kind of like a little bit weird, and my first intuition was that he's a pedophile. They
Hmm.
are very, very on the edge, I would say. But I quickly like just blocked him and
Yeah.
quickly like just, like but it is a cyberbullying, like
Yeah,
I mean
like
it's kind of like he's crazy and insane, but I'm sure he hides behind like some identity and just
yeah, for
uses
sure.
social media as a way to, express himself like he wasn't
Yeah.
able to do in real life.
Like I bet you anything, like these people that says all these like negative things on like Reddit
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, if we were asking them in person what your real feedback is, they would never say stuff
Exactly.
like that. They would
Exactly. Yeah.
never. They would never.
Yeah.
So it's just like cyberbullying is real. So how do we help our kids navigate that? Because like
Yeah.
nowadays we're like, I don't give an F of what you say and what you
Yeah.
think, right? But like when I was probably younger, I'd be like, no.
I know. And we were not exposed to it, but these
Yeah.
kids are. And
Yeah.
same, like I'm always looking at this, like, TikTokers, and they like are young people, and there are like a lot of nasty comments below their videos.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I can tell you that Western society is much better. There is like much less cyberbullying than, for
Yes.
example, like Ukraine
Hmm.
or like
Oh yeah.
Eastern Europe. Well, definitely like just like I think everything comes to the self-worth, right? Like if you
It
have a
is.
strong self-worth, if you have strong support system, at the end of the day, you will just ignore and move forward towards your goal. While if you do start this accounts because you don't have self-worth feeling and you want to self-actualize, then definitely these kids will be in trouble.
Yeah, I know, I totally agree. There's actually I don't know where I saw this, but it's like one of the things to help kids understand what is a truth versus just like a feeling or a statement is like
Mm-hmm.
kind of read them like different statements of like, okay, is that a fact or is that just a thought? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, these flowers are red. Like that's a statement, that's a truth.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I think those flowers are very pretty. Like
Mm.
that's, you know, a an
Mm-hmm.
emotional. So it's like helping them understand, is that a fact? Or is it actually just a thought or a feeling that someone has that you might not agree with?
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of interesting for me to kind of think through, to help my kid navigate this, right? Because obviously, as they're approaching, you know, high school and things like that, there will be bullies who are just maybe not, maybe they don't mean to be unkind, but they do, you know, say unkind words. Like, you know, I've been there and things like that. I've seen it. It's how you react and how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that ultimately matters. And how do you enable your kids to navigate that?
Absolutely. Well, moms out there, if you were able to succeed, maybe someone of you has already, 18 years old kids or 13 years old kids, please let us know, share your experience, because we are just here starting getting our head around all of this
Yeah,
right
yo,
now.
please, yeah, please share because we're interested to know how do we instill like self-worth as our kid is, you know, getting older and helping them navigate all these, you know, challenging things in the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and with that, I guess we will wrap it up here. As always, excited about your likes, comments on Instagram or YouTube, and we wish you a great day. And we'll see you in the next episode.
All right, bye for now.
Goodbye.